Hi friends, it's your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to continue to explore the question, is art, when judged, objectively good or objectively bad, or is it subjective and there is no good or bad? It's whatever anybody chooses, and art can be both good and bad because everybody's opinion is equally valid, and there are no hard metrics that can decide whether a piece of art is good or bad objectively. All right, let's dig into this. I presented receipts on something as almost incontrovertibly, clearly objectively good art, statue of David, to a piece of art that I think is objectively bad, right? And there's a lot of receipts for this being bad, which is Tron Ares, very current. It's the exact opposite of the statue of David. That's ancient, and thousands of people go to see it and have done that for hundreds of years. It's I'll be surprised if thousands of people are still seeing Tron Ares even on week 3. Right? Like this thing is gonna, actually, Jeremy Johns was like, I will forget this in one day. Right? Like, yeah. So what I want to talk about today is and then also I've presented the receipts that art is objective. It is absolutely not subjective. Okay. And so I've given my receipts, and I believe you should believe that art is objective. But I've also said I understand why you want to continue to repeat the myth that art is subjective, because the cost of it is very high, right? And I could go further on why people continue to repeat this myth. I think there's other reasons there, but I want to do the full sweep here. And so in this video, I want to talk about why you should reject the myth and accept the risk of saying, I don't believe what the world believes. I no longer believe the myth that art is subjective, which is going to, and this is going to cost you, right? But the stakes are high enough that we've reached a point where you should buck the trend, right? You should stop. I don't believe anybody believes the myth. I think about 10% of the people who purport the myth do believe it. But I think the majority of people who repeat the myth do it because of cultural pressure, right? They don't actually believe it, right? I'd say 90% of people who say that art is subjective don't actually believe that. They know good art and bad art when they see it. They know it, but they're afraid to say it because of the cost, which I've already done a whole video. So let's talk about the stakes. Why should you buck the trend? Why should you take on the very real risks of not repeating the myth and actually defying the myth and saying, I believe art is objectively good or bad, which I've been doing for years, and I'm going to continue to do this. But here we go. Let's go. And actually, there isn't really a cost for me because the cost is already happening, right? So it really doesn't, it doesn't matter much that it's happening more, right? It's like you either have a cold or you don't, it's rare that you're cold. You're gonna get that you'll get more cold, So here we go. Okay. All right. Why should you buck the trend? Here we go. So the reason you should buck the trend is the stakes. The stakes are simply too high now. All right. So what do you mean, Scott? Like, it's just a piece of art. Who cares, right? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the world cares, and the reason you should buck the trend is because art has become something powerful, dangerous, valuable, and powerful, dangerous, and valuable. Right? That's enough. I don't need to say a single other thing. Let's get into it. So if that's the case, right? How and why does that matter, and how did it happen? All right. So art controls culture and politics now. It absolutely controls culture and politics. And our culture and our politics are absolutely defined, in my opinion, by nothing but art. Well, you're like, well, isn't money in there? Well, actually, the money follows art now. money is not more powerful than art. All right, and you're like, wait, what are you saying there? Yeah. Let me give you a receipt for that. Elon Musk, right? Billionaire, had all the money in the world, didn't need fame, right? But he pursued it. He went on SNL, and then he catapulted from Saturday Night Live literally to politics, and he bought X. And the reason why is he wanted art. He wanted to control art because that's where real power is today. And if you don't have power, it's dangerous, right? And if you don't have power, it's hard to hold anything valuable, right? But he went and he realized art defines our laws, art defines our politics, art defines our culture, right? And so, if you don't believe that there are real stakes on knowing good art from bad art, then I feel this is as dangerous as ignoring. It's become as dangerous as ignoring science. In fact, I think and actually, boy, you tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think it's a lot easier to ignore science today than it is to ignore art, right? The stakes on ignoring science seem extremely low compared to ignoring art, right? And there's literally millions of people who are massively ignoring science, and I think the ramifications of that have been very little. And I think increasingly, not knowing good art from bad art is outrageously dangerous to yourself. And the reason why is it's determining who our leaders are. It's determining who has power in the world. I believe Saturday Night Live is the reason Elon Musk was able to control the U.S. government for 4 months. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't think I am, right? There's other billionaires who, you didn't hear about them. Nobody said these guys have too much power, and the reason they didn't is they didn't know good art from bad, and they didn't know how to use art, right? They didn't go on Saturday Night Live, right? And we don't know those billionaires' names because they don't matter, right? Art has become way more powerful than money, and I think this is extremely good, right? And so, and I know this sounds outrageous because, if science would say that if you jump off, you know what? I'm not even gonna finish that. We'll not go there. I will tell you right now, I genuinely believe it has become far more dangerous today to be ignorant of the power of art than it is the power of science. In fact, there are a lot of people who are doing quite well ignoring science today and are functioning just fine, right? And people who don't understand the power of art are falling farther and farther behind. They matter less, right? They have a harder and harder time understanding why our politics are shaped the way they are, why our laws are shaped the way they are, and why their culture is shaped the way it is. So that's my point. You cannot understand this world if you do not believe right now that art is objectively good or bad, and you begin to develop the skills to recognize good art, tools that are powerful, and tools that are nothing, right? And the idea that art is subjective and that there is no good art and no bad art has become an outrageously foolish and dangerous belief. That's why you should buck the truth. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.